flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll convene the meeting. Roll call, please.
McIntyre? Here. Peter?
Here.
DeCook?
Here. We do have a quorum. I do have one small correction on the agenda. Consent item G. The date should read the last part of G should read November 2 instead of November 11, 2021. So that's 9:40 a.m. November 2, 2021. Are there any other deletions or corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda will be enacted tonight by one motion. Claims, I have a claims figure of $2,007,803.91. Minutes to approve, September 7, 2021, regular meeting. September 13, 2021, closed session meeting. September 14, 2021, special meeting. September 14, 2021, work session. September 16, 2021, closed session. September 16, 2021, special meeting. C, approve abatement of property taxes pursuant to Iowa Code Chapter 427.1 on parcel number 928-000-21000 in the amount of $8 plus accrued interest. Number 2, parcel number 928-000-22000 in the amount of $30 plus accrued interest. Number 3, parcel number 928-000-23000 in the amount of $26 plus accrued interest. Number 4, parcel number 928-000-24000 in the amount of $28 plus accrued interest. And number 5, parcel number 928-000-25000 in the amount of $10 plus accrued interest. That is a mouthful. D, approve employee new hire Bradley Lamb, Deputy Patrol Sergeant, Sheriff's Office, effective September 20th, 2021. E, approve payroll removal Monty Freeman, seasonal conservation employee, effective August 18, 2021. F, set public hearing for October 5, 2021 at 9:35 a.m. for the rezoning request from A1 to RR1 for Philip and Nancy Hansen, 6069 60th Avenue, Norwalk, Iowa, 50211. G, set public hearings for approval of revised Chapter 2 County Infractions, Warren County Code of Ordinances, 9:40 a.m. October 5, 2021, 6:10 p.m. October 19, 2021, 9:40 a.m. November 2, 2021. H, set public hearings for approval of revised Chapter 5 Industrial Property Tax Exemptions, Warren County Code of Ordinances, 9:45 a.m. October 5, 2021, 6:15 p.m. October 19, 2021, 9:45 a.m. November 2, 2021. I, set public hearings for approval of revised Chapter 20 Hazardous Waste, Warren County Code of Ordinances, 9:50 a.m. October 5, 2021, 6:20 p.m. October 19, 2021, 9:50 a.m. November 2, 2021. J, set public hearings for approval of revised Chapter 31 On-Site Wastewater Treatment Disposal Systems, Warren County Code of Ordinances, 9:55 a.m. October 5, 2021, 6:25 p.m. October 19, 2021, 9:55 a.m. November 2, 2021. K, set public hearings for approval of revised Chapter 33 Non-Public Water Wells, Warren County Code of Ordinances, 10 a.m. October 5, 2021, 6:30 p.m. October 19, 2021, 10 a.m. November 2, 2021. L, set public hearing for 10:05 a.m. October 5, 2021 regarding conveyance of real property to Billy Joe Warden. M, set public hearing for 10:10 a.m. October 5, 2021 regarding conveyance of real property to Dittmer Family Land Trust. N, set public hearing for October 5, 2021 at 10:15 a.m. for proposed amendment to the 2020 Warren County, Iowa revised zoning and subdivision ordinances regarding Chapter 41.02, section 2E. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Is there any discussion? A roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. Number 2 on tonight's agenda is set for 6:05, and I have 6:05. Public hearing regarding rezoning application submitted by Ivan Pilat, 14858 118th Avenue, Indianola, Iowa, 50125. Owners of property in question are Ivan and Valentina Pilat. I'll make a motion to go into public hearing.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. We are now in public hearing. Good evening, Lindsay. How are you?
Good. Okay. Ivan wishes to downzone a parcel of ground he rezoned back in 2015, to C2. It was restricted at that time. He would like to rezone it back to A1. The county zoning office and the assessor's office, after visiting with Ivan, feels the use is, still a C2 use. Ivan wants to downzone back to agricultural, however, he still feels that the box trucks and equipment associated with his business and still runs his business. He still has those. He came in wanting to remove his commercial tax classification off of his, property and taxes, and explained that it was explained to him by the assessor's office and our office. We both met with him, that it will remain classed as commercial because he is still running a commercial business. He came to see me and was upset about the size of his parcel that was rezoned in 2015. However, that was the legal that he provided our office. I mentioned a smaller piece, but he wants it all zoned as ag, but he's still operating a business. And part of his restriction was they had told him he rezoned a portion of it to commercial and told him he could provide a smaller legal description after the rezoning had gone through, and he never did provide that to our office to get a smaller piece of that. So I recommended having him provide a legal description for the size of parcel he wanted to rezone back to ag, if he wanted a smaller piece, and the size he wants to keep as C2 as first commercial business. So he came in front of the zoning commission, once, and the zoning commission wanted more information, so he came back a second time. In the middle of that, I had gone out to his site. I know the assessor's office has been out there. He will not let them in the building that he says is not commercial. And so I went out there, called him. The box trucks have his business name on them, phone number, so I called him. He does answer with a commercial name. When you call the phone, I said, I'm on your property. Would you like to meet me here? And he says, I'm busy today, but I'd love to meet you. I said, okay, let me know. I had a conversation with him all the way back to town that day. And I drive by his site quite often because I live near him. I live by the church that he is a minister at, and he told me one of his box trucks he uses for the food pantry. I have no issue with that, but I said, if you're using one of those primarily for your church, leave it parked at the church then. Just leave it off your property then, so it doesn't appear to be that you're using, that you have multiple box trucks that would appear to be used as a business truck. And the one he uses for the church is not marked with any markings. So I've tried to work with him, and so he came to the next zoning commission meeting, and he's attempted to tell the zoning commission that the county's not worked with him and that the county has not helped him with filing for to appeal his taxes. And like we explained to him, that is not up to the county to appeal your taxes for you. You have to do that on your own, and he's been explaining the process of that by the assessor's office. We've explained it to him in the zoning office. I know the assessor's office has met with him. They've had his commercial insurance company on the phone, and that's why they're so adamant that this property is a commercial property. So that would be my recommendation, and why I'm saying I don't feel that it should be downzoned back to agricultural, because it is clearly, he is running a business out of the property. I did talk to him a couple weeks ago to let him know that the meeting was not gonna be on the 7th. He had asked me if we could meet again, and I said sure. He was supposed to call me that next week to get something scheduled for me and the assessor to meet with him, and we have not heard from him, and I don't think he's here tonight either, so. So that's kind of the story on it. So that's kind of our recommendation from the county, is to just leave it as commercial, because even if we don't zone it back to agricultural, he's still going to be taxed as commercial, and that's what his real concern is. It's not really his zoning, it is his tax classification, and so it is not really gonna change what his concern is. So, that would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Lindsay. May we ask a question? May I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
What sort of business is it? Cause I don't have, I personally don't have an issue with, the box car being out there if it's primarily for church or food pantry. I don't, that doesn't bother me.
He actually has, 5 box trucks,
Okay.
and 3 of them are for his, he has a commercial, construction business, so he does flooring, and so that's what he does, is flooring and like repairs on houses and stuff like that.
That would be apparently the reason why,
And
the tax
it's-
classification isn't going to change
Yeah,
regardless.
and the 2 unmarked ones are the ones that he does drive back and forth to the church, and, yeah,
Thank
and
you.
they don't have the markings on them.
Thank you for the clarification. And was there did zoning actually come up with a recommendation
So
or did they not?
the zoning recommended 4-0 to recommend denial of the
Okay.
application.
Are there any other questions for Lindsay? Or is the gentleman on the line, or on, is he remote today? Okay.
Make a motion to go out of, public hearing.
A second.
Any discussion? Is there any comments from the public online or in the room on this before we exit? Nope. Okay, roll call please.
McIntyre,
Oh,
Aye.
okay.
Peter,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, we're out of public hearing.
All right, I will make a motion regarding rezoning application submitted by Adam and Platt to deny this application.
You wanna wait for a second?
Oh, yes, okay, to deny rezoning of certain lands within Warren County from C to R to A1 and waive the second and third reading.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? I do have a question for Lindsay. Is he able to bring that back at a later date then?
Yes, he could reapply. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you. Roll call please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Thank you, Lindsay. Number 3 on our agenda tonight is consider request from Larry Hughes to move to rescind restriction of 9 lots in resolution 06-128, subject to the approval of the Board of Supervisors and the platting of the property. Lindsay or Larry, who would like to start?
Want me to do it, Larry? Go ahead and then I'll go. Okay. Okay, so Larry was, in front of you on September 7th, and he rescind the wording from a resolution from 2006 that states, land that the Kellers rezoned, was restricted to a 9 lot and on an RR1 zoning, and he is asking to rescind the wording of 9 lots. He's planning to purchase the land from the Kellers and would like to propose 18 lots. In an RR1 zoning, a house actually can be put on, a house on every 2 acres. The land is approximately 80 acres, just a little shy of that. It could probably be about 38 homes. He does not want 38 homes. He's proposing to do 18 homes, average about 3 to 7 acre lots. So you had asked for some more information and kind of get some thoughts on the zoning commission. He did take it in front of the zoning commission, the preliminary plat. It does not come back to you until the final plat. So the zoning commission met on the preliminary plat last week, and they voted to deny the preliminary plat because it had the 18 lots on it. And some of the concerns were the room was full of neighbors, same concerns they had back in 2006, which at that time the paving requirement was not in our ordinance that you have to pave to the nearest paved road. David Carroll has worked with Larry Hughes on paving Fulton Street, and there's a plan in place for that. So Larry has met with David on the plan. He's met with our office as well. We all sat down together in the 2 offices. So it was Don and Carrie and I and David and Tim from the engineer's office that sat down and met on that. And so we worked through some things, and then that was where we came up with this, that there was a restricted agreement. So he is asking to rescind that resolution. Not the whole resolution, just the wording of the 9 lots. Larry does have some, I think, some information to present to you tonight to kind of back up his thoughts. David does have a few comments I'll just read to you. I know there's been some concerns from the neighbors. We did not send notification out for this tonight because it's not really a rescinding a resolution is a supervisor matter and not really a zoning matter. But I know you've gotten some comments from neighbors, basically concerns about groundwater and additional traffic and stuff. So I just read some of David's comments. You know, these are concerns that would be addressed after preliminary plat approval if we require the developer, which our office does when working with zoning, to submit appropriate documents, drawings, and build out the infrastructure prior to final plat approval. Our office would rather see 18 residential lots with access provided on pavement versus 8 to 10 residential lots with access on gravel, which would be achieved through minor subdivision process. Once it's approved, we start the process of reviewing construction drawings, which would include a stormwater pollution prevention plan, SWPPP, which spells out the best management practices, BMPs used on the site for sedimentation and erosion control, and is a working document during construction. This would include an NPDES permit filed with the IODNR by the developer. This is required when disturbing more than an acre of ground. Also, we're not generally concerned about additional stormwater flows on a large acre residential lots compared to its existing use. However, we still check these when drainage calculations are submitted as part of their stormwater management plan. In the TR 55 stormwater manual, row crops have a slightly higher stormwater runoff coefficient than 2+ acre residential lots, which are mostly covered with grass. CN equals 2 versus 73. The runoff coefficient for woods versus large acre residential lots is comparable. Our office is not concerned about the additional traffic to a gravel road since he should be required to pave the 0.2-mile stretch of Fulton to Highway 28. The developer must bear all the costs of paving Fulton to Highway 28 with concrete, which would include survey design and right-of-way acquisition. This process could take a year or two. The cost should include all construction inspection within the development. If he pays Fulton County staff or county directly hired, or consultant directly hired by the county would perform the inspection work since it's considered a public road improvement. The developer could also bear the cost of this. Common sense would dictate that the vast majority of traffic coming out of the development would rather quickly hop on a paved road than spend more time driving around on gravel when there's really no need to. He said, I don't know how septics would impact groundwater if they're designed and installed properly. However, that's a question of environmental health department. I'm not sure it's a huge concern for them when they live around ag uses that pump anhydrous ammonia into the ground every year. I did talk to Kate, about the septics, and like she said, there's definitely systems, like when she said when they're that large of lots, there's definitely septic systems, and she would not be concerned about the groundwater from the septic systems and stuff. So there's definitely systems that could go on there that would work. So I think a lot of some of the concerns, it's just, obviously, it's just more development in the area, but like, the zoning and, like David and I said, really, we would prefer to have a planned development, where you can kind of oversee some of this stuff than versus 4x40 on gravel roads that you don't really have any control over some of that stuff. So I'll let Larry present what he has tonight, but that's just kind of our overview of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Larry Hughes, 208 East First Street, Ackworth. Lindsay did a very good job of encapsulating what transpired. I might just add a couple of comments regarding some of the questions that the people that were here had. Was one guy thought that it was going to be really bad to have those buses going up those private drives and turning around on a cul-de-sac, and we assured him that in a private subdivision they don't even leave the county road. There will be concrete out front. We'll be putting down about 1,300 lineal feet of concrete from Highway 28 across the front of Fulton, and through the engineering office here in Warren County. He said that with the paving and with doing private roads, there wouldn't be a dust issue that so many of the neighbors would be concerned about, and that's always seems to be a big one. I'm sure that's a headache for his office. But there would be no access from the 80 acres to the county road beyond where the paving feeds to the private roads. In other words, they won't, even though their lots on the west side would back up to 50th Avenue, they wouldn't have access to that because he wouldn't grant openings for them to put drives in. The Warren County Water has assured that they can provide water. We've sent our plans to Mid-American Energy and to CenturyLink, and we haven't heard back from them yet, but I'm sure that they're in the area. So we plan on 17 new lots. There is an existing house on there on a 4-acre parcel. The smallest lot will be 3 acres. The largest will be 10 plus, and there'll be about 3 or 4 sevens and some 4s. They average about, I think it's about 4.2 or something like that, out of the 78 acres. I guess that would be all I have, unless y'all have questions for me.
I don't. I guess I have one. Is there any chance or likelihood that it'll be a number higher than 18 when it's said and done?
No.
That is capped at 18?
That would be capped at 18. That's what we'd be showing, and one of those already has a house built on it.
Okay. That's the only question I had.
Thank you.
Okay, we are on sort of second discussion regarding the request from Mr. Hughes to rescind the prior 2006 restriction. What are the thoughts of the board I'd like to discuss?
I'm ready to, I can make a motion
Oh,
if you're ready.
sure.
Make a motion, to rescind the restrictions of the 9 lots in resolution 06-128.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Did you wanna place?
Do you wanna, yeah, do you wanna place 18 in there in the place
or
of
do you
9?
just want to just remove the wording and then?
We can cap it at, we can include in the motion to cap it at 18 lots.
Second that. Okay, so we have a motion and a second at changing the words of the 2006 resolution to reflect up to 18 as
Mhm.
opposed to 9. Any discussion? Okay, roll call please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye. Motion carries. I guess this is not discussion time anymore, but I'll just say my rationale was in large part because of the cost to
Thank you
pave.
to the board.
Yep, thanks, Larry.
Cost to pave would be borne by the developer. I do hear the complaints about dust and as people keep moving out there, but the way our ordinance sets up, you really could stack 4 on lots of 40s and, I think this is a better outcome, so, okay. Number 4 on our agenda tonight is budget report. Good evening, Megan, how are you?
Doing well. So we are the second month into fiscal year 2022. Starting with expenditures, the one that was running a little bit high, is general services, but it was at the same point this time last year. A big chunk of their budget goes to their insurance renewals, which are paid in August. So that's kind of why that one's a little higher. And then we can also see our differences between last year and this year. Nothing that jumped out at me too much. We do have less payments, in substance abuse that I'm kind of watching out for and I've reached out to the, director there to see why we haven't made payments there, but other than that, most differences have good reasoning. And then over to the revenues for August. So for the auditor, we just haven't had the revenue for city municipal elections, received in July or August. For nutrition, we're low because we have a budgeted nutrition transfer, that hasn't occurred yet. And then we are also low on our Liberty Center sewer payments. Again, there's also notes on what's changed, from last year to this year at this time. Obviously, one of the big changes would be the 4.9 million in American Rescue Plan funds that we received in this fiscal year. And then last, we've got all of our changes in our fund balances. As we continue working on the Justice Center, that fund balance is going down, obviously, and then, just some other changes in there. Any questions?
Thank you.
I don't have any, thank you.
Good job, Megan.
Number 5 tonight, discuss secondary road shop general fund loan terms. Is Nate online?
Yep, so we've got Nate Summers with D.A. Davidson online to discuss.
Wonderful, good evening, Nate. Can you hear us?
I can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Great.
Would you like to present the terms or your thoughts on this action item?
Sure, yeah, first of all, thanks for letting me join here via Zoom. So, there's an executive summary document, I don't know if you can see this on the screen, looks something like this. That I sent to, Megan, hopefully you all have that in front of you.
Yes.
This is something that we talked about, yeah, there you go. We talked about a while back, and now that the county has gained the authority to
think the engineer had set aside, $1,000,005. It had been more, but a couple of projects have dwindled that. But then I think he said he was saving something this year too. Wish he was here. So I know that, I don't know of any other funds.
Yeah, I think Crystal, or Supervisor McIntyre's right, he had, 1.5 to start on phase one. I think some of that's gonna be a little more telling once we actually know some numbers from bids. So I guess I'm not quite ready at this point to say whether I'm leaning towards a 15-year general obligation or a 20. 10's probably a little aggressive depending on how much phase one costs and how much he's contributing. So I'd probably be more inclined to look at 15, especially if we could lock in at 2%. That actually has some appeal. But I don't know what those numbers look like yet. I know that if you add column H, if you would, and the engineer's contribution to it, that certainly should take care of phase one in my mind. So I think what we'll do, Nate, is we'll see if we can get a meeting scheduled with our engineer, maybe even this week yet, to see sort of where he's at on getting it ready for letting, and then sort of recap to make sure that we still have 1.5 of engineer funds ready to go. And then once we do, and can maybe get a little bit better estimate of what we need to use for that loan. So
I just want the board to know that he's not here because he's attending a conference with our assistant attorney. So it's not like he's not here.
No, it's good. So we will endeavor to do that, and sooner rather than later. And then maybe we can even look at some updated projections on what phase one would cost. And then we also need to really sit down with the engineer and sort of figure out, even at the 15-year general obligation payback at 3.5, it's 285. So let's just say it's 300. We should probably work out, in advance, what sort of contribution will be expected from the engineer's office versus other sources as well to get that project done. So we have a little work on our end, Nate, but I appreciate you bringing it back to the forefront, and these numbers will be helpful in that discussion. And I know we can't hold you to it. I know we can't hold you to the interest rate, but those look pretty good. I like things that start with 1 and 2.0. So.
What is there a date, Nate? Excuse me, Nate. Is there a date that you need an answer by, or is there something we need to be aware of from a timing perspective?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's for obvious reasons we'd like to get interest rates locked sooner than later, just because of where interest rates are at historically. We're at kind of all-time lows right now, so there's a lot more interest rate risk the longer you wait. So I would generally advise, just let's be expeditious with getting the financing done once you have the bid. And I completely understand too that, from what I've heard from the board side, that's kind of the answer that I assumed I would hear, which is totally fine. But once you get your bid in hand, we'll want to just have some conversations pretty shortly thereafter to figure out how much cash the county is going to chip in and how long you want to take to pay off the debt. Those are kind of the next two questions that need to be answered on the financing front before we can finalize an offering document, and then sell the bond thereafter.
Understood. Megan, would you send David an email and see what he has for availability maybe on Friday?
Yep.
And then check with the board and see if we can get the schedules to align. I know we have interviews Thursday morning, so maybe.
He might be available Thursday morning.
Yeah.
Because I had an appointment with him, but I had to move it because of his
Sure.
injuries.
So let's see if we can. We'll see if we can get an answer by Thursday morning on an update, and I'll touch base with you. Okay.
That's fine. No rush on my end. I just wanted to kind of keep you updated on what the next steps in the process look like.
Understood. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Nate.
6, public hearing regarding review of final plat for Splendid Acre subdivision plat 2 submitted by MJM Trust, care of Mildred McDonald, 9714 Pioneer Trail, Indianola. I'll make a motion to go into public hearing.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Cook.
Aye, we are in public hearing.
Okay, so this started back in, actually it started in 2017 when we had a gentleman come in and apply for a building permit. And he was working with the developer for a couple of years. We had, held the building permit, and so he was working with the developer for a couple of years. And there was kind of a verbal agreement between the developer and what he needed to do. And that did not get done, so we started process back in November of 2019, and I'm very proud to say, I think we have reached the final plat. That is done. And we have worked with Ed Arp from Civil Engineering Consultants, and he is here tonight, but we do finally have an agreement. There's been much back and forth. You know, there's been a lot of frustration from the owner of the trust that owns the land, the homeowners that have been involved, particularly on this road that has been affected by it. We've had some family get involved this summer, and so we finally made some progress this summer, and much headway was made. And I know Ed met with Ed and Don, and I met with Don and I met with the daughters and the landowner, and kind of gave a synopsis of what had happened and why we had gotten to where we were at with it. And then they met with Ed, and we kind of told him what we needed to have done. The road is there. It's gonna cause a huge problem to move the road. And so the agreement needed to be between one landowner, you know, to agree to give an easement or, for this little corner, that had been brought up before, and we just could not get to an agreement with the developer in the process. So Ed worked with them, and the agreement was made, and it's gone very smooth. The paperwork is all done. So they granted the easement, and they now have land on the back part of their property. Ed has come through, and there was some other things that needed to be worked out with 2 or 3 of the other landowners on the road, creating outlots so that everybody's legal descriptions are now all correct on there. So the road is staying where it is, but everybody's right-of-ways and land is all properly now defined and everything. So again, it's been a long road, but I appreciate everybody's understanding and cooperation, especially here at the end when everybody was kind of at their wit's end with it. But and I do appreciate Ed helping our office to get to the bottom of that. Like I said, there was just a lot of frustration, and but he helped pull the neighbors together on that, and so I think we have a final plat that's ready for final plat approval tonight. This is the 3rd hearing on the 2nd plat, so it is the last time we could hear it, so everything is in place and ready to go, so.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this matter? This is the 3rd and final reading. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to resume public hearing, to leave public hearing.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Cook.
Aye. Do we have a motion to adopt the final plat?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the final plat for Splendid Acres subdivision plot 2, submitted by MJM Trust.
Second.
Is there any discussion from the board? Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Congrats. Number 7, consideration of temporary construction easement between the city of West Des Moines and Warren County, County Conservation Board, and the Southeast County Line Road Improvement Project with possible action. Good evening.
Good evening, I've been here a lot lately. Yes, you might have heard about this from your engineer maybe. They are realigning County Line Road where it joins into Veterans Parkway, because they currently keep it at an angle. So they're gonna realign, County Line Road and come in at a right angle to Veterans Parkway. And in the process of tearing out current County Line Road, they're going to, come back onto the bike trail for about 300 feet, I believe. It's actually a good thing for the bikers. They're gonna put a temporary trail in, so the trail will not be closed. And where they're gonna get rid of an at-grade crossing. Because currently, County Line Road is an at-grade crossing. When they take it into Polk County, they're gonna do a tunnel.
Nice.
Our board has already seen that and approved it, so now it's before you.
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary construction easement between the city of West Des Moines and Warren County Conservation Board for Southeast County Line Road Improvement Project.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, motion carries. And then number 8 is consider the resolution in support of funding the rehabilitation of Great Western Trail with possible action.
So you guys, I know, are well aware of this, but this is the formal resolution from the County Conservation Board. As you know, the Conservation Board has applied for and received $637,000 in the form of a COVID relief recreational trails grant. Conservation Board is requesting the County Board of Supervisors provide the upfront funding during the claims process, while the Conservation Board seeks reimbursement from the Iowa DOT. That process is what this resolution is in support of.
Are there any questions?
I don't have any.
Do we have to read that entire resolution?
I think you can make a motion to adopt the resolution approving the Warren County Conservation Plan to fund repair and resurfacing.
Of
Or
the
you could
Great
read it.
Western Trail?
Yeah.
Okay, and grant from the COVID-19 recreational trails program, for approval.
That works for me, second. Is there any discussion? And just for the public's benefit, these are grant monies that we just basically have to front, and then we will be reimbursed to the penny back on it, and it should make the trails a little better.
All better.
Do you want to speak to that just a little bit? I mean, let them know sort of how many feet or what sort of
Right.
distance is going on.
The $752,000 total project, the Conservation Board did put funds in to try to increase our chances of receiving the grant. So, yeah, it's just a claims process. The trail that is affected, we did a pavement analysis study with Snyder and Associates, and they determined the 2 worst sections of the trail, and that's what this grant is addressing. So it's about 2 miles of the trail we're gonna totally tear up and redo and put down pavement rather than asphalt.
Wonderful. I think the board was aware of that, but now maybe the public is
Right,
too, that
right.
Some COVID trail money is coming into the county, and I think it's a great thing, and well done from your office and those that were involved in writing that grant. So, thank you.
Yep, thank
All right,
you.
we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 9 is receive and file reports. We have 3 to receive and file: Kayakota, the recorder's file, and a VA report. Do we have a motion to receive and file said reports?
I'll make a motion to receive and file said reports.
Second?
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Number 10, consider claims for Iowa Process Service with possible action.
Claims number. Okay.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the following claim from the Iowa Process Service, statement number 199316, the amount of $1,220.
Second, roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Abstain.
DeCook.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, I'll make another motion to approve the following claim for Iowa Process Service, statement number 199317, in the amount of $250.
Second, roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Abstain.
DeCook.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, supervisors report. Who would like to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
I recently had a meeting with our insurance agent regarding a couple of different things. There's been some questions around our builder's risk insurance policy and claims, so we had a nice discussion today, and there will be further discussions with our construction man and our insurance agent to make sure that we're all in line with how these claims are gonna be coordinated in the future, if any, hopefully not. The subject of safety meetings also came out of that meeting regarding workers' compensation. There's a connection between safety meetings and the reduction of workers' compensation claims, and we've seen it, and we've been a witness to that here in our county. Not on my watch, but while you guys were running your safety meetings, there was a large savings to the county, and it's a recommendation on behalf of our insurance company that we get those picked up. So I'll try to coordinate those and pick that task up, you know, to kind of drive some of those things. But they'd thrown out some dates in October, and they had recommended that our county attorney and our sheriff and our engineers were there, and some of our other leadership. So I'm gonna throw out an invitation to our leadership here and see if we can get that stuff going. There's been several operational Warren County Justice Center meetings and some coordination with Story Kenworthy on exactly how the furniture walls are gonna be lifted in, and that element continues to require coordination and direction. But it's getting there, and I think it's fairly positive. The sheriff's budget is something that for the next fiscal year, 23, that I continue to have meetings on with Joe, and there's more to come, but specifically the medical expense for inmates is a cost that's going to be increased exponentially based on what we pay now and what we're going to pay because of the increase in cells and the number of inmates that we're gonna have to provide medical services to. They have a plan in the next work session. I'll kind of bring you up to speed, but there's so with that and the dispatch additions, that budget is something we're really gonna have to pay close attention to. And we've also had some meetings regarding budget, just general budget, and we have some ideas for the board that we'll be presenting at some point. And we're pretty excited about some of these ideas, so more to come on that. HR and payroll interviews, we've all done that. The other thing to just get on your radar screen for the board is that we know parking is an issue. We're getting less and less complaints. I think we're doing a little better job. But the thing we don't talk about is parking after the Justice Center is done and after streetscape is done. And that's an issue out there, a year and a half or so. But there are some discussions right now between the county and the city on some potential solutions. And there's been meetings and discussions and ideas, and it's something we need to focus on. And I'll be bringing some ideas to the board in the next couple months or so.
Good.
No, that's about it. That's about all. It's really been on my radar the last couple weeks.
Thank you. Crystal?
Sure. All right, I attended ISAC annual conference, which was through August 25th through the 27th. I've met with various county departments, including conservation, engineer, HR, zoning, 911, EMA, payroll, auditor's office, IT, recorder's office, and treasurer. Attended the kickoff meeting for the Warren County Hazard Mitigation Plan due every 5 years. This is basically involving every jurisdiction within Warren County, including incorporated cities, and they bring ideas of future needs for handling emergencies or natural disasters. And every jurisdiction brings their own goals and projects. And when that is turned in, it allows the county to accept any federal funding. And it also puts that jurisdiction as well as Warren County on the radar for any of those projected plans or goals that were on that plan. I also attended the Iowa MUG meeting in Dallas County, the Aging Resources Board of Directors, walkthrough for our towers for 911 communication system today, and answered public emails, phone calls concerning various matters, and we had our HR interviews. That's my report.
Thank you. And mine, I'll keep it brief. Attended a SERPTA meeting. Had a number of specials and closed session meetings. Spent a little time with IT. As some of you might be aware, we've got some staffing issues, and we are looking to add, and have added some both at dispatch and jail. Certainly is coming up. And so, sort of started thinking a little bit harder on some of those things, because it's certainly apparent to me that there's going to be some increase in costs and employee costs. And so wanted to start refocusing a little bit more on some areas that we could reduce some cost, one of which has already been implemented. It's pretty minor, but I'll speak to it just briefly, and that is with respect to printing at the county. The default now has been moved to a black and white as opposed to a color. It's fixable, and so when people actually do need to print in color, they can do so, but you would be shocked at what our printing costs were for color, and we're hopefully going to do some reductions there, and we might see if we can work with some vendors on printing costs as one of many avenues to hopefully find some of the resources necessary for those differences in revenues versus taxes. Also met with some department heads, and last but not least, I did want to acknowledge a couple teams in the county. We've got some wonderful fall athletics going, but we do have, I think, a #1 team in the state, ranked #1 in Indianola, and and they are going to be running into my home team, the Norwalk Warriors, soon. And last year, I had an opportunity to place a friendly wager with then Supervisor Doug Scholl, and I'm not sure if Doug is watching or not, but if Doug would like to get a hold of me, I would be very happy to make another wager, and I think that we won't do any odds on it. It'll just be straight up, and so Indianola will probably be favored in that one, but I'm a home team kind of guy, so I'm gonna still root for my Norwalk Warriors. But Doug, if you're watching, give my cell a call. With that, is there any input from the public? Either in the room or online. Is anyone online, Megan?
There's no one.
So Doug was not online, so one of his buddies is gonna have to bring him up to
I'll
speed
get
that
him
the
over.
gauntlet has been thrown down towards him, but.
I'll take all his wagers. Especially on that game.
I assure you he would love nothing more than to, but how about this? It'll go to a good cause. Either way, it'll be either the Indianola Food Pantry or whatever charity he likes in Indianola, or the Norwalk Food Pantry will be the recipient of the monetary donation. So, Doug, look me up. No one online, no one in the room. That means our next meeting date is going to be set for October 5, 2021 at 9:30 in the morning. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Cook.